Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khairan to everyone for joining today's lecture by international students of Islamic psychology. Today we have with us Dr. Alizi bin Alias from Malaysia. We're very blessed and very honored that he's joining us today. He will be speaking about the dilemma of Muslim applied psychologists. And before we start, we did want to start with Fatiha. We'll go over a few guidelines. And given the tremendous loss and pain of our brethren in our Ummah in Turkey and Syria, we will be starting today's lecture with some collective du'as. After that, we have a certificate of appreciation for Dr. Alizi. We will have the lecture, a question and answer session, and then we will have some forms and closing du'as. So with me today is Sister Nadira in Tunisia, who is helping to co-facilitate. She'll be sharing things in the chat and admitting people. And of course, our esteemed guest and honorable guest, Dr. Alizi bin Alias is with us. We actually do have some brothers and sisters joining from Turkey and from Syria, so we're very honored to have them here and safe with us. Barakallahu fikum. My name is Fatima Ahmed, and I will be facilitating as well today. So just generally, please keep yourself on mute when you aren't speaking. There will be a recording of this that we'll share on our ISIP YouTube channel. Any questions you can please put in the chat. And we do have live transcription. So for anyone, for any reason who would like to see the transcription, you can press the button more ... and request it, and you will be able to get that. Our Prophet ﷺ has reminded us that the Ummah is like one body, and if one part of it is hurting, the whole of it is hurting. We wanted to take some time today to recognize, to share, and to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his immense lutf and mercy for our brothers and sisters in Turkey and Syria. On behalf of ISIP, we share in the grief, and we encourage every single person here, of course, to consistently be making du'as and to be making donations, inshallah. Having said that, inshallah, we'll start right now making some of the du'as, and we'll start actually with our Fatiha. So if we can gather our hearts and our intentions, inshallah, by the barakah of the gathering, and in somebody's sincere du'as, and in our coming together, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will answer our du'as. So we'll start with our Fatiha. Dr. Alizi, would you like to start with our Fatiha? You okay? Oh, it's on mute. Okay, no worries. We can start with the Fatiha. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الرحمن الرحيم. مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Amen. We'll read this first one, the remembrance during hardship. The transcription is also, the English meaning is underneath. لا إله إلا الله العظيم الحليم. لا إله إلا الله رب العرش العظيم. لا إله إلا الله رب السماوات ورب الأرض ورب العرش الكريم. We'll do this 3 times, inshallah. لا إله إلا الله العظيم الحليم. لا إله إلا الله رب العرش العظيم لا إله إلا الله رب السماوات ورب الأرض ورب العرش الكريم لا إله إلا الله العظيم الحليم لا إله إلا الله رب العرش العظيم لا إله إلا الله رب السماوات ورب الأرض ورب العرش الكريم. We'll also read the supplication for one whose affairs have become difficult. We'll do this 3 times as well. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا. There's also this dua for our ummah, and we'll read this 10 times together, and then we'll also do a dua at the end as well. So again, the Arabic is here, the transliteration, and the English translation is at the bottom. So we'll do this 10 times, inshallah. Allahumma aslih ummati Muhammad, Allahumma arham ummata Muhammad, Allahumma farij an ummata Muhammad, Allahumma aslih ummata Muhammad, Allahumma arham ummata Muhammad, Allahumma farij an ummata Muhammad, Allahumma aslih ummata Muhammad, Allahumma arham ummata Muhammad, Allahumma farij an ummata Muhammad, Allahumma aslih ummata Muhammad, Allahumma arham ummata Muhammad, اللهم فرج عن أمة محمد اللهم أصلح أمة محمد اللهم ارحم أمة محمد اللهم فرج عن أمة محمد اللهم أصلح أمة محمد اللهم ارحم أمة محمد اللهم فرج عن أمة محمد اللهم أصلح أمة محمد اللهم ارحم أمة محمد اللهم فرج عن أمة محمد اللهم أصلح أمة محمد اللهم ارحم أمة محمد اللهم فرج عن أمة محمد اللهم أصلح أمة محمد اللهم ارحم أمة محمد اللهم فرج عن أمة محمد اللهم أصلح أمة محمد اللهم ارحم أمة محمد اللهم فرج عن أمة محمد اللهم أصلح أمة محمد اللهم ارحم أمة محمد اللهم فرج عن أمة محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم. إن رب لطيف لمن يشاء وإنه هو العليم الحكيم. Our Lord is the most subtle in achieving what He wills. He is the all-knowing and He is the truly wise. My dear brothers and sisters, may Allah always surround you and everyone and the beloved in His lutf and in this world and the hereafter. May our beloved Lord Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable to see His lutf and His gentleness in every moment of our existence. May our hearts be at peace with the decree of our Lord. May our bodies be engaged in efforts to rectify the external circumstances to the best of our ability. May our eyes shed tears and our hearts feel the sorrow. May our souls become restless seeing the pain and suffering of our brothers and sisters. And may that drive us to go above and beyond our means. Oh Allah, we ask of you in this sacred month of Rajab. We stand of you, Ya Allah, in an utter state of humility and weakness, and seeking your mercy and seeking your assistance, Ya Allah. The whole world just saw a glimpse of your majesty, Ya Allah, and we are in awe of your power and your magnificence, Ya Allah. You test people who are beloved to you. Ya Allah, you raise their ranks and you remove their sins from the worldly calamity, Ya Allah. The people of Syria and Turkey are suffering. Ya Allah, we have firm belief that you have written gifts for them beyond what we can imagine. Ya Allah, we ask of you for beautiful patience and that you facilitate their matters with ease and gentleness. Ya Allah, provide shelter for everyone who has lost a home and write for them beautiful palaces in Jannah, the likes of which have never been given to anyone. Ya Allah, be the protector and caretaker of every child who has lost their parents, of every elderly who has lost their sons and daughters. Ya Allah, be the companion and friend of everyone who has lost their loved ones. Ya Allah, please provide food for everyone and don't allow anyone to go hungry. Oh Allah, only you can remove the pain and suffering, and only you can fill the hearts with contentment and serenity and peace in the middle of a storm. Ya Allah, bless these people, elevate their ranks, create ease for everyone who's left behind, and welcome every soul that returned to you with your love, mercy, and kindness. Ya Allah, we seek Jannat al-Firdaus for every departed soul, and we seek beautiful patience for everyone who was left behind. Ya Allah, we seek your assistance in evaluating ourselves. Allah, truly the test is ours, who are sitting here comfortable with food and with water and with security and with our next meal and surrounded by our loved ones, enjoying blessings that we cannot imagine. Ya Allah, this calamity could have fallen upon us, and we could have been the ones to have lost our homes and our loved ones and our belongings and our safety and our security. And we are completely and utterly dependent upon you and your mercy. Ya Allah, it could have been us whose lives changed in 15 minutes. Oh Allah, reward everyone afflicted. We are the ones in utter loss, Ya Allah. We are in a much bigger test. Oh Allah, if we don't step up at these moments to try our best to help everyone in need, we surely will have failed. Ya Allah, we ask that you facilitate good through everyone in need. Ya Allah, we ask that you allow our tongues and our hands and our bodies and our hearts and our money and our abilities to be used to serve you and to serve everyone in need. Ya Allah, truly we'll be helping only ourselves by doing this. Ya Allah, please don't allow our nafs and our shaitan to hold us back. Oh Allah, please don't let us fail this test. Oh Allah, we are completely dependent upon you for our guidance and for any good that we may be allowed to do. Oh Allah, our hope is tied to your mercy, and truly we are not deserving of it, but in your akram al-akrameen and in your rahmah and in being who you are, Ya Allah, we ask for your magnanimity. Oh Allah, the greatest test and the greatest loss is the loss of Iman. Oh Allah, let this not be what you test us with, Ya Arhamar Rahimeen. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. الفاتحة. بسم الله. Barakallahu fikum. Thank you, dear brothers and sisters, for holding this space and for making du'as together. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept it by the barakah of someone's sincere du'as here. Okay, Bismillah. Well, the mission of ISIP is what we're doing here today, inshallah, is to spread and normalize and to bring together hearts in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to disseminate knowledge and to help people understand Islamic psychology within our communities and our countries of origin. You can continue to participate, inshallah, by subscribing to our YouTube channel. and our WhatsApp group. And you can also become a member of ISIP via our website and to gain access to the digital library, inshallah. Okay. We're very honored, inshallah, today to have Dr. Alizi bin Alias with us from Malaysia. He has a Master's of Science in Applied Psychology at the University of Surrey and a PhD in Industrial and Organizational Psychology. He is currently a freelance organizational psychology consultant and the co-founder of Psychospiritual Institute. He is teaching part-time at UNIMY and OUM. He occasionally is a consultant for training providers, Human Dynamic Managers University, ABH Global Inspire, IREMIA, sorry if I'm saying that incorrect, Aleph Institute in London, Spring Foundation in London, and the Gift Knowledge in London as well. He is the author of the bestseller book entitled PENAT, on how to manage emotion, energy, and stress. And he has 14 academic publications and 26 conference papers. He's one of the leading scholars in this field, and we are so honored to have him with us today. Barakallahu fikum, Dr. Alizi. Just on behalf of ISIP, we'd like to offer you this certificate of appreciation for your excellence and in recognizing your contributions to the field of Islamic psychology. So on this beautiful day of Rajab, we humbly ask you to accept this, and we'll be, inshallah, sharing this with you in an email as well. To all the brothers and sisters here, please forgive us for our shortcomings. Please make dua for us, make dua for the ummah, and thank you for attending. Before you go, we would ask that you could please also fill out a feedback form. We did also want to recognize this 2 years ago, what we would say the father of Islamic psychology, Professor Dr. Malik Badri, rahimahullah, passed away in February 2021. So on the commemoration of his passing away, ISIP will be honored to host a tribute to Professor Dr. Malik Badri, rahimahullah, and we are very honored that some of his students, Dr. Alizi bin Alias and Dr. Abdullah Rothman and his son, Brother Qasim al-Badri, will be joining us on Saturday, February 25th. So please keep on the lookout for that as well, and we welcome everyone to join us for that tribute as well. So without further delay, I would invite Dr. Alizi, if you can start sharing your screen.
Okay, thank you very much, Sister Fatima. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. And a very good morning, afternoon, evening, night to all participants all over the world. Can somebody give feedback that you can hear my voice clearly? Or Fatima, can you hear my voice?
We can, alhamdulillah. If it could be just a little bit louder, that would be great.
Okay, I will shout or I will put my mic nearer. Okay, shall I continue?
Yes,
okay,
that's a little bit better, yeah.
Okay, now, first of all, thank you so much for ISIP for inviting me to deliver a short talk, short discussion on the topic, the dilemma of Muslim applied psychologists. It's kind of a catchy topic because it sounds similar almost to our beloved Almarhum Prof. Malik Badri's monumental book, The Dilemma of Muslim Psychologists. So first, let me start by reading dua for Almarhum Professor Dr. Malik Badri. He passed, his birthday is coming soon actually on 16 February. Same as mine, actually. It's an honor to share the same birthday with him. And he passed away on 8th of February. which is 3 days ago. It's 2 years, 2 years since 2021. So just a short dua. Let us read together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma gfir lahu warhamhu wa'afihi wa'fu anhu wa akrim nuzulahu wa wasi' madkhalahu wa ghsilhu bil ma'i thalj wal barad wa naqqihi min al khataya kama naqqita thawba al abyad min ad danas. Amin ya rabbal alamin. Yes, I'm using a mic, earphone, so I hope it's louder. Okay, I will try to speak with higher volume. Okay, so there's a distraction here. Like because I'm the co-host, I can admit those who are coming. I hope the host can immediately admit those who want to come in, those who are in the waiting room.
Yes,
Okay.
Dr. Alizi, yeah, don't worry. Inshallah,
Okay.
we'll be taking care of that.
Okay, thank you. In front of you on the screen is the book by Prof. Malik Badri, The Dilemma of Muslim Psychologists. As you can see, in his table of content, there is only one or two, if I can say so, topics that is related to applied psychology. Number one, psychotherapy, or in our case, clinical psychology. And number two, educational psychology. The rest are actually non-applied psychology or basic psychology, which are psychometrics, social psychology, and personality. That's what inspired me to talk about the dilemma of Muslim applied psychologists tonight. Okay, don't be confused. At Malaysia, it's night right now, night time, so I say tonight, but some of you are morning, afternoon, or evening. That's why the actual topic for tonight is the dilemma of Muslim non-clinical applied psychologists. Why? Because there are so many books, there are so many conference papers, there are so many book chapters, there are so many social media posting on Islamic counseling and Islamic psychotherapy and Islamic social work. So we do not want to talk about that. There are so many experts that have talked about that already, and more to come, I'm sure. I want to talk about applied psychologists who are non-clinical and non-counseling psychologists. There are not many of us, but it's growing at a fast rate all over the world. And we need more books, we need more book chapters, we need more journal articles, we need more conference papers on our field. And I want to give you a quote by Al-Imam Al-Ghazali rahimahullah. Knowledge without action is wastefulness, and action without knowledge is foolishness. Before I start talking about the dilemma of Muslim applied psychology, for those who are non-psychology students, I want to share with you the categories within psychologists as career. We have number one, basic psychologists. Number two, applied psychologists who are not practitioners, or in other words, the titles are not protected yet by regulatory bodies. And number three, applied psychologists who are considered as professional practitioners, which titles are protected by regulatory body, you know, like American Psychological Association, or British Psychological Society, or Australian Psychological Society, or any local regulatory body in your own countries. So under basic psychologies, we have biological, cognitive, developmental, personality, social, and experimental psychologists. But I'm sure you realize that a lot have been talked about and a lot have been written about on personality psychology, especially about Freud, about Skinner, about Roger, Rotter, and McCrae and Costa. A lot of theories of personality have been discussed from Islamic perspective. And we also talk about al-ruh, al-qalb, al-nafs, al-aql. Some even add al-lub, al-fuad, al-sadr, for example, al-fitrah. So many things have been written. Less so on Islamic biological, cognitive, developmental, social, and experimental psychologies. Now, let me jump to the right column because these are the ones which are popular and protected. Okay, apart from clinical psychologists and counseling psychologists, we also have Muslim organizational, health, forensic or criminal, educational, and sports psychologists, and also clinical neuropsychologists. In the middle column are new emerging disciplines that not yet achieve the protected titles. They are environmental, consumer, engineering, political, positive, military, traffic, community, there's so many more, aviation, musical psychologists. As you can see, there are so many types of psychologists, but so many have been written about personality and therapies, or clinical psychologists in general, or counseling psychologists in general. That's the dilemma, the first dilemma of Muslim applied psychologists, non-clinical applied psychologists. Another thing that we should realize is there are a lot of underused Islamic studies discipline for applied psychology, except tasawwuf, of course. There's so many people writing about Islamic psychology, they extract some principles and applications from al-tasawwuf. How do you translate tasawwuf? Islamic mysticism? That's the closest that I can think of. I know it's not perfect, but that's the closest that I can think of. Al-tasawwuf or Islamic mysticism. Some underused Islamic studies disciplines are ilm al-aqidah, ilm al-shari'ah, ilm al-tafsir and hadith. I know a lot of people writing about Islamic psychology, they give you Quranic verses and also some hadith. But to extract from the tafsir itself, from the sharh hadith itself, that is, to me, is still seldom done. Yeah, I'm sure you know Al-Marhum Dr. Muhammad Uthman Al-Najati had written Al-Quran wa Ilm al-Nafs. He also had written Al-Ahadith Al-Nabawiyah wa Ilm al-Nafs. But like I said, those are just citing Quran, citing hadith, and try to relate it with psychology. But making use of the heritage, the vast heritage of ulama al-tafsir and ulama al-hadith, al-ahadith, I think there's still a lot of room for improvement. And of course, there is ilm al-da'wah also. I know a lot of people have written about psychology of da'wah, but if you look at it, it is limited to communication aspect. When in fact, if you study ilm al-da'wah, da'wah is more than just communication, verbal communication, right? So these are some of the dilemma also. Yeah. Yes, thank you so much, Fatima. Tasawwuf, Islamic spirituality center on the aspect of ihsan. Good. Feel free to participate at the chat box. If I notice, I will read it, or if not, we will read it later at the end of this session. Okay. Since all of you are here, could you please? I know we're not many, but just want out of curiosity, could you please identify which types of Muslim psychologists are you? I want to know my audience. I want to see that, wow, there are so many psychologists all around the world, Muslim psychologists at that. So yes, can we give like 1 or 2 minutes for you to type? Which type of Muslim psychologists are you? Sorry. Yeah. Are you, myself, I am an organizational psychologist. Dr. Muhammad Abu Hilal from Turkiye, psychiatrist. Welcome. Who else? Mental health counseling and education, applied doctoral student. Clinical psychologist, alhamdulillah, welcome. Hopefully education psychologist, yes, aspiring education psychologist. Marriage and family therapy. I can see the pattern that most of you are in a therapy counseling. Oh, good. I remember Putih Fatima, IO psychologist. Yep. Still a child psychology student, organizational, educational, community, that's great. Educational counseling, trainee, clinical psychologist, counselor, working towards becoming counseling psychologist. Alhamdulillah. I pray for every success and barakah for in your study, in your career, and any future undertaking. Still trying to find out other types of applied psychologists, but keep it coming. Yeah, keep it coming. Okay, let me go back to the slides before. Yeah, so this is the question. Yes, thank you. Youth counselor, counseling, marriage and family therapist. Thank you so much. Barakallahu fikum. Now, the dilemma of Muslim psychologists in the 70s, as written by Prophet Malik Badri al-Marhum, is the Muslim psychologists want to be scientific. They are trained to be scientific in psychology, but at the same time, they are good Muslims. So they want to be committed to Islam. They want to be a committed Muslim. That's the dilemma, and that's the question that Al-Marhum Prof. Malik Badri tried to answer in his book. Okay, to give the answers to those who are having the dilemma. But in 200 or 2020s, if I may say so, the dilemma of Muslim applied psychologists is to Islamize applied psychology, but at the same time waiting for basic psychology to be Islamized first. Now, clinical psychologists and counseling psychologists are lucky, alhamdulillah. You have a lot of Islamic basic psychology, especially from personality psychologies, that you can extract. Some of you doesn't have to Islamize much because the basic psychology part have feed you with the theory and you just have to apply. Some of you are very good. You also try to Islamize basic psychology in your therapy, in your counseling. And that is so amazing. We are so happy naturally, because I think majority of psychologists are in the clinical or counseling psychology discipline. So yeah, understandable. But I want to promote more non-clinical psychology, and I hope you will help us to Islamize psychology as a whole, not just the therapy or the counseling part only, so that people will benefit from the amazing potentials of various types of psychology to help solve the ummah problem and also the world problem. Okay, do you understand the difference between the dilemma of Muslim psychologists in the 70s and the dilemma of Muslim applied psychologists in the 2020s? Okay, next, another question. If you can help me, name books or authors on a specific Islamic applied psychology discipline, but wait for it, other than clinical psychology and counseling psychology. Even I myself had written a lot on Islamic basic psychology in book chapters and conference papers compared to my own area, which is organizational psychology. I wrote about Islamic biological psychology, Islamic psychology of learning, Islamic motivation and emotion, Islamic social psychology, Islamic sensation and perception, Islamic psychology of consciousness, and I think coming soon, Islamic developmental psychologies. But because it's quite easy, to Islamize basic psychology, but to Islamize applied psychology, it is difficult. It's not easy as extracting Quran and Hadith and claim that it is Islamized. So, can you tell me books or authors on a specific Islamic applied psychology discipline, and you name that discipline? For example, a book on Islamic forensic psychology, a book on Islamic sports psychology, for example. But it has to be comprehensive, not like a sub-chapter. Okay? I know a book about forensic psychiatry, not really forensic psychology. I know a book by somebody I know who talk about ahliyah and developmental psychology, but again, it's only focusing on the cognitive development. But a book authors that is anyway, developmental is not applied. It's a basic. I want to ask about the applied. So who dare to name Because if you do mention, I will be very happy. It shows that we are one step towards producing more books, a comprehensive book, not just a journal article, on Islamic applied psychology other than clinical and counseling psychology. Okay, if you do, please tell me. Okay, you might want to Google first, but if you cannot find anything, it's okay. So far, I couldn't find any, but I may be wrong. If you do, please share with us. Okay, let's continue. Now, this is what most people think, or maybe people in psychology think about basic psychology and applied psychology. Yeah, basic and the arrow pointing towards applied psychology. Right? Okay, there's a comment there. I only own Al-Atta Psychology, written by Muhammad Zaini Osman. Most probably it is basic psychology. And if it is applied psychology, I think he did mention something about therapy in one of his books. So it is still clinical applied psychology. I want to ask about non-clinical applied psychology. But thank you. So now, as everybody know, there is a book on Al-Atta Psychology written by Muhammad Zaini Osman. Thank you so much, Sister Adila, for sharing. So this is model number 1. The path is from theory to application. According to this model, Muslim applied psychologists have to do something, but the standard of evidence-based practice and knowing why something works we have to wait for the underpinnings provided by Muslim basic psychologists. That's the dilemma. Okay, let's wait for Islamic social psychology, Islamic developmental psychology, Islamic cognitive psychology, Islamic biological psychology to be Islamized. Any theories that is relevant to organizational psychology, okay, until then only then I will Islamize organizational psychology. Only then I will organize forensic psychology. Only then I will Islamize sports psychology, for example. How many of you have this model 1 in mind? Although you may not agree with it, but that has been dominant in your mind, has been unconsciously being practiced in your mind. You can share whether you are kind of practicing or believing in model number 1. Okay, there is another comment here. Leadership and Islamic perspective. Yes, there will be under organizational psychology, but there is like a subchapter. Yeah? Hopefully one day we can have a whole textbook on all subtopics in organizational psychology. So those who are in organizational psychology like me, you should make use of this book, Leadership and Islamic Perspective. Okay. Yes, Sister Aisha, I think, is that the one by, yeah, Rafiq Isa Bikun and Jamal Badawi. Okay. Again, that still looks like basic to me, basic psychology to me. Of course, in the book, they will give examples, like practical examples. But when I say applied psychology, it is solution-focused, full of interventions. Just like clinical psychologists among us did when they write Islamic therapy or Islamic counseling. It is solution-focused. That's what I meant by our dilemma. Okay, we have a book here and there, but it's not really represent the whole discipline. The whole discipline. Yes, thank you. Now you know there's a book on a hadith about the behavior of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he what? And the Muslims around him. Yeah, and the Muslims around him. Now, this is the second model. Basic, and there's an arrow in the middle, which is bridging, and an arrow towards applied. Yeah, towards applied. In this model number 2, there are numerous steps between the initial Islamic basic psychology research and the eventual Islamic practical applications in Islamic applied psychology. And these steps often involve messy details and many decisions about factors that probably don't matter, but maybe they do matter. If you're a researcher, you would understand what I mean. If you want to bridge between basic psychology research and applied psychology application. Still, model number 2. One can get the sense that the clean the highly valid experimental design is being gradually compromised by these minor details. A lot of applied psychologists use more survey than experiment, for example. Sometimes they may even use qualitative research methods, or most of the time, rather than experimental. Or some even use a very journalistic kind of survey, which does not meet the scientific standard. It's not that they do not want to use experiment, it's just that the pressure in the field is, your boss might say, don't use experiment, don't be too scientific, be more, I don't know, more down to earth. And sometimes a lot of Muslim applied psychology just follow their bosses. They can't be the ideal Islamic Muslim applied psychologist. So someone should do the work in the bridging. But from the perspective of Muslim basic psychologists, maybe it should be someone else other than them. Now, should Muslim applied psychology do the bridging? It can be very difficult. So somebody thought somebody will do it, but nobody is doing it. That is another dilemma of this model. Yeah. So any of you think you are in model number 2, basic, bridging, or applied, please share at the chat box. The third model, basic, influence of basic psychology, influence of applied psychology, and applied psychology influence basic psychology. What do you think of this model? Model number 3. According to this model, we need to include the path shown that goes from applied to basic research, which we do not see much nowadays. That's why we are waiting for basic psychology research to be Islamized. Give us Islamic theory so that we can apply in the field, especially those who are not working in academic setting. You just want to apply. You don't have time to conduct research, but you want to make sure that your application is Islamic and scientific. I like to use the word Islamic - scientific because it's integrated, not just Islamic at one side and scientific at another side, as if those two are not Islamic, or Islamic is not scientific, or scientific is not Islamic. And I'm not talking about secular scientific, I'm talking about Islamic scientific. Yeah. So we may have ignored the application side of things. We also may be ignoring a rich source of theoretical ideas and challenges. And that is why this model has been suggested. So which one do you think is the dominant reality of Muslim applied psychologists other than clinical psychologists? Model figure 1, figure 2, or figure 3? Okay. So can I see some answers in the chat box? Just type 1, just type 2, or just type 3, just to get an idea. Even though you're not a psychologist, yeah, you can still join in the fun and try to answer based on your observation working with fellow psychologists, or maybe teaching psychology students, or observing other people, other psychologists applying their practicing their field in the field. Okay, so keep on coming the answers. Now, yeah, somebody has answered number 3. Okay, thank you. Well, a lot of you answered number 3. Let's go back. Yeah, number 3. Yeah, I will show you the same figure in the next few slides. So keep on answering. Applied psychology is not just applied, but it's full of fascinating research puzzles. I hope some of you students who are in applied psychology, never mind clinical or non-clinical, you must understand that there are a lot of fascinating research puzzles in applied psychology. Even in your textbook, there are a lot of applied research that you can do, even though you are a practitioner. And for those of you pursuing basic psychology, you should know that basic is not purely pure, if you can understand that. Basic is not purely pure, and I meant that in a positive way, but rather is saturated, because people say when it is pure, it's very neutral, non-value. We don't talk about God, we don't talk about prophet, we don't talk about al-akhirah, for example. No, it is saturated with value. Even secular psychology is saturated with values. What more Islamic psychology? So ideally, values that make us proud to be Muslim psychologists, psychological scientists. And that values can help you to help Muslim applied psychologists provide better solution for the ummah or the world. Okay, regardless non-Muslims or non-Muslims. Okay. Oh, Sister Amina give a very lengthy comment. I will read it later during the question answer. Sister Fatima, take note of this comment, or you may want to copy and paste and copy to your own computer so you can read it to me later. Yeah, Sister Fatima. Thank you. Now, applying Islamic scientific psychology to the reality as practitioners. What are some of the issues? Number one, some Islamic psychological theories are applicable, alhamdulillah. Maybe most of them are applicable, especially to clinical psychology. Number two, some Islamic psychological theories are applicable but need to be postponed because practitioners know when to postpone or not. You know, sometimes even Prophet Muhammad even postponed the fatwa, right? Or sometimes medical doctor, some of you psychiatrists, sometimes you postpone given the best medicine because there are some issues with the patient, you know, things like that, because you are grounded in the reality. So you can't just copy and paste whatever has been found in Islamic basic psychological research. Issue number three, some Islamic psychological theories are not applicable to your field. Yeah, not all of them are applicable. Some are remain basic. Some are only applicable to other fields, but maybe not organizational psychology, but in forensic psychology. So these are some issues that you should be facing, you will be facing in Islamic scientific applications of psychological theories to reality. Issues number four. Yes, thank you, Sister Saira. Interdisciplinary and bidirectional, another model. I will talk about interdisciplinary later on. Number four, some issues need Islamic psychological theories from different subdisciplines. For example, I can't find a theory to help me with this human resource problem. I try to search from organizational psychology. I can't find it. I try to find basic psychology. I can't find it. But when I read educational psychology, maybe there are a lot of research on teachers as workers. Wow, that can be applied to organizational psychology as well. Workers who are non-teachers in non-educational setting, in business setting, in voluntary setting. So it's very tricky, isn't it? There's so many, there are jungles out there for Islamic applied psychologists. And I can even say the same thing for clinical psychologists also, Muslim clinical psychologists. You may think that, okay, it's enough, Prophet Nabi has done a lot, right? So there's nothing to do left. There's still is jungle out there. You can still explore based on point number four. You may even find some amazing theories in organizational psychology to solve clinical problem, new clinical problem in new setting, for example. And that's why even in Sharia, we have ijtihad. The ijtihad is a creative, independent reasoning, but grounded in reality, in waqi', but still based on Sharia principles in usul fiqh, qawaidul usuliyah and qawaidul fiqhiyah, for example. And issues number five, some issues need new theories based on data from the field. This is what most of us are afraid to do. Alamak, sorry, I'm using Malay here, the exclamation mark. Subhanallah, I can't find any theories from basic psychology or other applied psychology to solve my problem. So that is the time when you should collect data in the field and build theory maybe from scratch. Yeah, and theoretical, bottom up rather than top down. Yeah, bottom up rather than top down. Inductive rather than deductive, if I may say so. Now, these are my suggestions. Number one, Muslim basic psychology should move on from grand theories talking about psychodynamic, behaviorism, humanistic, cognitive perspective, biological perspective, socio-cultural perspective, evolutionary perspective, and just step down, one step down to talk about meso-level theories and micro-level theories. But that one is much more easier to be applied by Muslim applied psychology. Right? Like maybe not many of us talk about Islamic traits. When we talk about Islamic personality, we talk about Freudian, we talk about behaviorism, we talk about Rogerian, but what about the most research in scientific psychology, the big five, for example? Is there a trait? People always talk about Islamic personality and un-Islamic personality, but what about within companions, Sahaba, radiyallahu anhu ajma'in, they have different traits. You know, between Abu Bakr and Umar, between Uthman and Ali, radiyallahu anhu ajma'in, that is what did I say just now? Research jungle, though, research puzzle, Islamic research puzzle. that is much more practical because you're dealing with Muslim community in front of you, which have different traits, different personality. So that is meso-level theory. Micro-level theory can be anything. In social psychology, for example, attribution theory, it can be primacy effect, recency effect, and I will talk about primacy effect, recency effect, because that is a very micro-level theory, easily Islamized and easily applied. Yeah, easily applied. Okay. Yes, thank you, Dr. Misna, grounded theory. Thank you, my boy. Thank you, Sister Saira. Character development across lifespan. Yes, that is a very relevant. Yeah, we should do more research on that because even among psychologists, they keep on conducting research. They have Big Five and now they have Big Six. Have you heard about Big Six? Hexaco, very promising theory. Although Big Five is still the most valid one nowadays. Yeah, but who knows? Maybe Big Six will take over. Maybe Islamic Big Seven. Maybe. Yeah, who knows? Now, suggestion number 2. Muslim applied psychology should move on from applying basic theories to build new theories which are data-driven from the field. Do not be afraid. There's so many amazing data out there that can give insight and even help basic psychologists, Muslim basic psychologists, to test your theory in the laboratory or using survey, for example. Isn't that great? That's why we have the bidirectional arrow between Muslim Islamic basic psychology and Islamic applied psychology. Suggestion number 3. Lessons from clinical psychology. Yeah, our big brother here, who are very experienced in Islamization, do not just extract only theories from Quran and Hadith, but extract also theories from stories and practices from Quran and Hadith. When I was working as an academician at International Islamic universities, most of my Quranic verses and Hadith are very straightforward. Yes, straightforward when I talk about Islamization of theories in psychology. But when now I'm working as consultant organizational psychologist in the field, lots of my dalil, my Quranic verses and hadiths are from stories of not only Prophet Muhammad SAW, but stories of previous prophet, which is much more difficult to extract. But when you are able to extract, it is so relevant and related to your practice. And people can see the points because it's story types. I'm sure those who studied qualitative research method, you know the power of using story, the narrative psychology. Okay, now I want to give you an example. I hope I have some time to explain this. Example from basic psychology, social psychology. I'm choosing very micro level theories here to illustrate Islamic scientific psychology. Most will talk about Islamic perspective of society. I've read a lot about this, but more on values. It is wajib, it is haram, rather than theory building. Islamic concept of ukhuwah, Islamic concept of prejudice, Islamic concept of aggression, Islamic concept of love, Islamic concept of obedience. But I find it too difficult to make it practical in my area, organizational psychology. It's more like do's and don'ts. It sounds like Islamic studies. You understand my point? It doesn't sound like Islamic organizational psychology. It's like do this, do that. Haram brothers, haram sisters. So it does not help much. It's good. It gives the basis. So that's why applied psychologists, for example, organizational psychologists, have to wait from basic psychologists to be Islamized, especially the various meso level and micro level theories, before we applied psychologists can apply it in the field. Do you understand the dilemma now? You can help us also, or if you're in basic psychology, or if you're in applied psychology, if you're the big brother clinical psychologist or counseling psychologist, help us also. You have very vast experience. If you are like me, non-clinical applied psychologist, let's work together so we can Islamize psychology as a whole, not just certain part only, right? And then more on example from basic psychology. Common sense always noted that first impression matter, but why? So basic psychologists try to answer. One possible reason is primacy effect. In contrast, information presented last also has a stronger influence, known as recency effect. But other researchers found that impression also influenced by the cognitive representation. For example, stereotype that one have on social group. Yep. Oh, thank you, Sister Syra. Ethics and risk. Yes, very specific. That doesn't sound like a micro level theory, but specific application on the concept of risk. Thank you. And then Sister Afifah, emotion regulation strategies from the Quran and Sunnah related to stories. Yes, thank you. Good. That's a very good suggestion. So where was I? Approach number 1. When you want to Islamize, right? First impression. You want to Islamize first impression. Very, very micro level theory. Approach number 1, you mentioned one very famous Quranic verse. This is about the Malaika questioning the appointment of Adam alayhi salam as a Khalifa. So the Malaika say, they say, will you place upon it one who causes corruption therein and sheds blood? The first impression, isn't it? So these Quranic verses only give you the idea that first impression exists. It is descriptive. It is not explanatory. Not yet. It is not predictive, for example. So we need more. We need more. So this is not enough. But some of you think, yes, I have Islamized. See, I have given you Quranic verse. I have given you a hadith, for example. No, it is not enough as a psychologist. As an ustaz, Islamic scholar, maybe it's enough because the job of Islamic scholar is to tell you, to describe what is Sharia, okay, to describe what is Aqidah, for example, what is Akhlaq. But psychologists is, our job is to explain why and also to solve how practical problems, psychological problems. Yeah. Now, approach 2, if you want to Islamize this first impression, you might tell a story. Now we use a story. Yeah? Quraysh first impression to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was positive. First impression, due to Prophet's good character, to the extent he is known as the Al-Amin. However, the first impression changed after Muhammad's Nubuwwah, 40 years old. Why? Due to Aqidah differences between idolatry and Islam. Yeah, Aqidah Islamiyah. So this is where you can extract spirituality factor in impression formation. In other words, first impression may not last forever. First impression quite strong, but may not last forever, as it is prone to reinterpretation, like what has been found by scientific psychology, and also depends, we add as a Muslim psychologist, on one's iman, which is acceptance of the fact or truth. Okay? So as you can see, this is another approach which is much more helpful and beneficial in your stories. It includes soul factor, spiritual factors. Yeah. Okay. Somebody has given a comment, but it's way up there. I have to go up there. Nice suggestion. Quranic stories are actually a good basis of real life examples of overcoming life circumstances. And most of the time we face life challenges and relating to the stories. That's correct. I've been using more stories when I was a practitioner compared to when I was an academician. Yeah? Sirah, Qasasul Anbiya, and even Sirah Sahabi, Salafus Saleh, and others. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Zarin. Yeah, where was I? As an organizational psychologist, Muslim applied psychologist, specifically organizational psychologist, I want to apply the theories of first impression to organizational problem. For example, impression formation during employment interview. Now, this is a very practical issue. You cannot say, this is something practical, no need to Islamize. Why do I need to Islamize? It's a practical, just interview and hire the applicants, good applicants, and do not hire bad applicants. Now, it's more than that. That's why I say it's a dilemma. That's why a lot of Muslim applied psychology do not do anything in terms of Islamization. They see it as a practical problem. Why do we need to Islamize? Now let's see. Interviewers' impression on interviewees can affect their hiring decision, maybe due to the influence of, as the theory say, early and later information about applicants, the primacy and recency effect. However, it is also possibly affected by interviewer stereotype on certain ethnic and reinterpretation of information received before the interview. For example, from the application form or resume, from curriculum vitae, for example. Because you know something, you are biased when you are interviewing the applicant, resulted from the impression formed during the interview. That is a very practical problem. Why? Because it may involve unfair decision making, and unfair decision making is un-Islamic. How can you not say, I do not want to Islamize my applied psychology discipline? You should, even by using research found from the Western countries, Western psychologists. So based on this scenario, interviewers' impression formation, where is the spirituality? Where is Islam perspective? Like I said, it's a practical problem. Like I said just now, it involves fairness and unfairness versus unfairness, just versus unjust, adil versus zalim, al-adalah and al-mazlum, of course the applicants becoming al-mazlum. So my suggestion is many ways for you to Islamize. In this case, first, use Islamic basic psychology to explain why, including spiritual reason, Muslim interviewers may make unfair hiring decisions. If you train them Islamically, would they make unfair hiring decision? That is a very great question, because sometimes, according to a lot of political research, you will find a lot more unjust practice among leaders in Muslim countries compared to leaders in secular countries. Now that is perplexing, isn't it? Puzzling. We have to conduct research, find out what are is there a cultural factor? Do they understand Islam really? Why are they so zalim to the people? Okay? And in this case, maybe a very small context to the applicant. These are the things which I think fardul kifayah or Muslim applied psychologists, okay, to solve the problem. Number two, you yourself conduct applied psychology research to explore new insight and even build new theories. So maybe it's not just primacy effect, maybe it's not just recency effect, maybe it's not just reinterpretations of new information, maybe it's more, maybe it's not just spirituality aspect, maybe it's just more which is very unique to Muslim culture, and Muslim culture can mean a lot of things. It can be Muslims in Southeast Asia, Muslim in Indian subcontinent, Muslim in Arab world, Muslim in North Africa, Muslim who live in Western countries. You might get different data when you compare, and those are great. We need to find out before we provide solutions. So yeah, Muslim applied psychology have a lot of things to do. You cannot wait for Muslim basic psychologists to Islamize psychology. You can start working on your Islamization now. And number three, if you feel very difficult, I'm not qualified, I'm not good in Quran and Hadith, we can still apply neutral theory. And this is the wording from Prof. Malik Badri in his book, Dilemma. He said, you can apply neutral theory from secular psychology, that means not supporting Islam, but not against Islam. Okay? It's neither nor, yeah? It is neutral. You can use it to improve ibadah, our amal ijtima'i, charity work, for example, and also da'wah. Like, for example, improving teaching technique is neutral, isn't it? But when you improve teaching technique, you are benefiting the Muslim ummah, and we need that. It's fardu kifayah. So there's no excuse for Muslim applied psychology to still have dilemma. Yeah, to still have the I myself have this dilemma, but we should move on from that dilemma and start working together. Okay, maybe I will stop. I will try to stop in 5 minutes, if possible. Applied psychology, feeding basic psychology. So you can conduct, okay, this is another suggestion. You conduct research on interviewers' first impression on organization. It may reveal new additional worldly factors or even spiritual factors. And remember, spiritual factor can mean a lot of things. Explore more. Yeah? Not just about iman, it can be a lot of other spiritual factors. Yeah? It may lead to spiritual-based guide to human resource manager. Imagine your contribution in Muslim organizational psychologists. It may just be Sharia-based, okay? Nothing spiritual, but based on this guy, it is haram to say this thing in interview. It is wajib to find out first about this before interview. Isn't it amazing? Muslim organization psychologists can give Sharia-based guide. Even though you may not mention spirituality or soul factor, it is still very, very Islamic. In fact, you may expand to non-Muslim first impression of Islam. Okay, although I'm an organization psychologist, I've conducted a lot, maybe I did conduct a lot of research on interviewing. Yeah. So why not try to expand my research to social psychology or community psychology to find, or psychology of religion, to find out non-Muslim first impression of Islam? Is it primacy effect or recency effect or reinterpretation of information or spirituality factors? For example, like a non-Muslim who have pure heart, they may have good impression of Islam. Non-Muslim with impure heart may be different. What about Muslim, born Muslim with impure heart? What is their impression about Islam, for example? So, like I said, it's a jungle out there for Muslim applied psychology to conduct research. Okay, so can you, any new comment? No, not yet. Oh, 3 new message. Let me see. As an HR, I usually do istikhara before deciding hiring the best candidate. Is it part of applied Islamic IO? I think that one is applicable across every discipline. So it's a good practice, but it is not the total Islamization of organizational psychology. That one is applicable to all disciplines. Thank you, Sister Putih Fatima. Sister Fatima, fardu kifayah to uncover and fight prejudices and not on experiences like mainstream psychology. I totally agree with that. Thank you. And then Isma Fatima. By this, we develop theories based on facts and not on experiences like mainstream psychology. That's correct. Okay. Well, actually, mainstream psychology also based their theory on facts, but their fact is based on data. But we have another fact, which is qat'i dalil from Quran and Hadith mutawatir. That is also fact to us, right? So we have two kind of facts: ayatullah fil kitab and ayatullah fil nafs. Secular psychology, they develop theory based on ayatullah fil nafs, signs of Allah in behavior and mental processes. We also do that. Do not reject that. If you do that, we are just Islamic studies, not Islamic psychology. But in addition to that, we also have facts from Quranic verses and al-ahadith al-mutawatirah. What about hadith sahih? No, hadith sahih is not qat'i, it's zanni. It is conjecture. If you study ulum al-hadith or mustalah al-hadith, you know that hadith sahih is zanni. So zanni is actually interpretable. So you can compare with other hadiths, you can compare with early Muslim scholars' interpretation, you can compare with Western theory and try to integrate it as long as the guiding principle is the facts. Ayatullah fil kitab and ayatullah fil nafs. Okay, the facts, the data are there. Your theory must be, you must control your bias in interpretation. That's why we have usul fiqh. That's why all mujtahid, all mufti must adhere to usul fiqh principle, usul fiqh principle, because mufti also have biases. That's why we have many madhahib al-fiqhiyah. Yeah, madhahib al-fiqhiyah. Okay, so my question: name one Islamic applied psychology research topic or intervention. This one I won't read. Just flood the chat box with your own ideas. Suddenly, I have one inspiration tonight, listening to my talk. I want to do this as my research, or I want to design this intervention, for example, because I only can give example from my field, organizational psychology, and a very specific area which is interviewing. Okay, so feel free to flood the chat box with your research or intervention idea. Okay. Oh, there's another question. How is it possible to fight controversial topic about Islamic psychology is impossible to be applied in Western psychology, in Western country as mainstream psychology? I do not quite sure what you mean by that, but I have written a chapter edited by Prof. Nuraini Muhammad Noor. I talk about issues and debates in secular psychology and how Islam provide a balanced view. Okay, so try to find out. It is published by IIUM Press. Okay. Now, do we have Handbook of Applied Islamic Psychology Research Methodology? I think with psychology, no. But I've written, and I know a number of my colleagues also had written. I had written 3 book chapters on Islamic psychology research methodology in 3 different books. Yeah, I don't know, maybe you can Google my name, maybe Alizi, and also research, or search at my social media, perhaps, or maybe I can give you later on. Maybe when ISIP uploaded the YouTube, I will put the link in the comment. Maybe, yeah, just reminding. Next, from Sister Saira, case studies on organization like La Riba or Dinar Standard to see Islamic guidance in practice. Good. This can be under economic psychology. Yeah, economic psychology. But make sure the focus is on behavior. If not, you are just like any other economist or Muslim economist. You must show that you are a psychologist. Yeah, economic psychologist or consumer psychologist. Yes, thank you for giving research. Continue. We will read it later. I have to finish. I should be finishing now. Somebody talk about multidisciplinary. If you feel difficult to Islamize applied psychology discipline, work with others. I may work with human resource management specialists or OB specialists, health psychology with medicine and allied health. Make sure they are Islamic, with Islamic spirit, Islamic motivation. Forensic psychology with law and criminology. Educational psychology with educationists. Sports psychology with sports scientists. Environmental psychologists with architect and interior designer. Consumer psychologists with marketing and advertising experts. Engineering psychologists with engineers. And political psychologists with political science. Like I said, it's a jungle out there for you to explore and develop your own field, yeah? Islamic applied psychology. Nur Husna commented, main issues mostly that incline to thinking of Sufism and their method. That's the thing. I studied Sufism and I always quote them and I am inspired by them in my writing, but we are neglecting ilmul aqidah and ilmul sharia, and also ilmul tafsir and ilmul hadith. So a lot of things that can be learned from there also. Yeah? Don't limit yourself to Sufism. Yeah, to Sufism. So this is I'm arriving to the conclusion right now. Ilmu sahih will guide amal sahih, but waqi' can also provide new ilm. So you can see the connection there. Remember in the beginning, I differentiate between basic psychologists, applied psychologists, non-practitioner, and also applied psychology practitioners, which is professional psychology. So this is from Western psychologists actually. How you can improve human services and how you can eventually influence policy makers. Isn't that great? Psychologists will influence policy makers for the benefit of the ummah and also for the whole world, Muslim and non-Muslim. Next conclusion, Muslim basic psychology should involve, sorry for the grammatical mistake, should involve more on Islamic psychological solution, work with applied psychologists, whereas Muslim applied psychologists should involve more in Islamic theory building. Feed each other. Look at the arrow, feed each other. Then we will provide a complete psychological solution, Islamic psychological solution for the whole world. Applied psychology actually helps fulfill Muslims' role as Abid, servant, and Khalifah, vicegerent of Allah effectively, because you're providing solution, intervention. Again, look at the figure. There are many arrows, different directions, lots of things that we can do. That's it. Thank you so much. I hope I am punctual to end my talk, so to allow for question and answers. Jazakumullah khairan kathira. If you want to follow me, you can like my Facebook page, my Instagram, and my Twitter. It's bilingual. Sometimes I write in Malay and sometimes I write in English. So that's all from me. Maybe I can read some of the suggestions for research that has been written before I give it back to Fatima. Hold on. One research topic could be Islamic perspective on the psychology of ulama and thinker. I like that very much. How the cognitive processes of Mufti, for example. Isn't that great? Because they themselves, they must have studied and they write Shurut al-Mujtahid, for example. Tabaqat al-Muhaddisin, for example. Different types of Manahij al-Mufassirin, for example. So they themselves know that different Mufassir, different Muhaddis, and different Mujtahid have different psychology. So that is a great topic. If you can use modern psychological terms, people can relate to that. And they can also further control their biases. Great, thank you. Who is it? Is it Dr. Abu Hilal? Yes, thank you so much. And then Fatima said, I would love to see an intervention for fighting social media addiction. Please conduct research on this and work together. Yes, I would love to see this too. So little time, isn't it? So little time, so many research to conduct. And then what else? Afifa Abbas, Islamic Science of Emotion. That's also great. And then, can you give examples of psychology based on Aqidah? You know, Aqidah, remember Fatima said, Tasawwuf usually focus on the ihsan, Aqidah usually focus on iman, and ibadah or sharia usually based on Islam, which is psychomotor. So Aqidah is more cognitive, iman or Aqidah is more cognitive, Islam or ibadah is more behavioral, whereas ihsan and tasawwuf is more affective or emotion. So it requires those who are well versed in cognitive processes to study the Aqidah of Muslim, within Muslim, different levels of Aqidah, levels of iman, or the different Aqidah between Muslims and non-Muslim. And then you can, if you want to make it applied psychology, you can provide guide to perform da'wah bil hikmah to non-Muslim, or to perform mau'izah hasanah to non-Muslim, or to perform ahsanul mujadalah to non-Muslim. Nowadays, you see, people use one way, isn't it? Sometimes they use harsh comment to non-Muslim, they use non-akhlaq, for example, because there's not enough research on the psychology based on Aqidah. There's only one research that I can think of. Yeah, I'm sure there are many. Yeah, if we sit down for maybe more or 1 hour, I'm sure there will be dozens of topics on psychology based on Aqidah. And then Sister Afifa, religious and spiritual competency mastery for healthcare practitioner. That's very good actually, because healthcare practitioners sometimes are not confident in providing religious and spiritual competency. They were told they should be neutral, right? So they cannot impose their values. But actually research show that by sharing your values, it can be therapeutic. But of course, even that in Islam, you should not be judgmental also to the person. I mean, maybe you can be judgmental to the behavior, but not to the person. Always give hope. You remember the hadith on the person who killed 99 plus 1 person? He was given hope. Or hadith on, there are a lot of hadith about the prostitute and the dog. So these are the things that I think should be some guide developed by Muslim applied psychologists. Thank you, Afifa. That is a brilliant comment. Dr. Misna, the psychology of mate poaching in context with polygamy. Now, this is very, very micro level research, isn't it? And it can be generalized to issues faced by Muslim. Yeah. And then, did I miss anything? I have to go up and down. Yes, thank you, Ismail Fatima. Subhanallah, blessed to be learning. Islam, Iman, Ihsan, cognitive, behavioral, psychometric. Not psychometric, psychomotor. Psychometric is psychological test. Psychomotor, behavioral. Explanatory also related to Aqidah. That's true. Why? Why some people accept Islam? No. Why not study the psychology of the 4 Abu or Abba or Abi? First, Abu Bakr. Second, Abu Jahal. Third, Abu Talib. And fourth, Abu Sufyan. 2 are mu'min, 2 are not. 2 immediately accept or reject, and the other 2 are slow to accept or slow to reject. That is also a brilliant research topic. Yeah, when we talk about explanatory or related to Aqidah. What else? What is that? Very lengthy comment there. Job characteristic model. Yes, I studied that. JCM on intrinsic motivation. How to perform ibadah with intrinsically motivated and enjoy it. Great. Don't forget, you can include spiritual aspect there. But depends on the reality, depend on the person, the worker. Sometimes you don't need to talk about spirituality, but to build theory, you must include spirituality as part of the model. Okay. What else? Work lives of prophet, shepherds, tradesmen, caliph, muazzin, defense force. That is so great. Different careers of prophets. Okay, that's it, I guess. Thank you so much. So I give back to Sister Fatima to conduct the session. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah barakatuh. Dear Dr. Alizi, barakallah fikum, jazakallah khairan. I have to say, this was such an engaging, you've really, I think, inspired so many of us just by opening up and having this way to think about what can be done, what needs to be done. I think a lot of us are feeling inspired, but also I feel personally like, you know, when you were talking about looking at Muslim hiring practices, even within the Muslim community, and if we could somehow, you know, reframe that as fard kifaya, I mean, that would really change things, I think, on a large scale, because we're not looking at combating racism in these types of lenses. And subhanAllah, that is so such an important aspect for us personally as Muslims, you know, for each person to start uncovering their own prejudices and biases. And if we could use psychology to help us do that, I mean, that would be phenomenal. And I think a huge contribution, not just to Muslims, but, you know, to the whole world, because there's no doubt that Muslims are embedded with inherent racisms and prejudices, and we need to uproot that. So thank you so much. I mean, there's been so much in this lecture that I've just felt like, oh, that's such a great idea. And mashallah, I really feel like people in the chat have been also sharing their ideas. Thank you so much for taking these questions along the way. We're really, really honored. It was very much, I could tell when you were speaking that you're speaking with such an immense knowledge, and condensing it for us must have been challenging. And thank you so much for your time and for your for being with us here today. Barakallahu fikum. Alhamdulillah. Thank you. There's a lot of messages in the chat coming through with thanking you as well, and du'as for you. Barakallahu fikum.
Ameen, ameen. Ya Rabbal
Alameen. I don't know. I think, to tell you the truth, I think because you were covering most of the questions. If there is any question right now, Nadira, I think I think Dr. Alizi has actually gotten to them all. Yeah.
Remember the lengthy comment? Have I addressed that? I forgot.
Yeah, I can read it for you. It was right at the beginning. Sure, I can read that for you now. It says, just sharing a thought in mind. I'd love to think of how Islam began in its beginning years. It started with Tawheed and theory in Mecca, and then Hijrah to Medina with more application. And so this is when you were talking about those three different models. I'm leaning in 3 because I love to see progress. It feels like we are moving really slow comparing to where Western psychology is now. But the most realistic, I think, would be model 1.
Okay. Shall I comment that? Okay. I will.
Yeah. Go
okay.
Ahead.
Yeah, because I thought you want to read more. Another question. Okay, let me answer that. You can look at it from 2 perspectives. One, the one that you choose, which is the Meccan period is very theoretical, whereas the Medinan period is very practical. You can see the difference in the uslub. What is uslub? The language styles in the Quran that has been revealed in Meccan period, and that has been revealed in Medinan period. That is quite correct from that particular perspective. There are so many practical solutions provided by Quranic verses, and also the hadith. A lot of hadith uttered during Medinan period has so many practical solutions compared to those saying of the Prophet during Meccan period. However, from another perspective, so no right or wrong, or maybe both are correct, there are still a lot of practical solutions during Meccan period. As an organizational psychologist, I see the Medinan period as a mass organization kind of problems with multiple race and multiple backgrounds of the people of the Medina, and sometimes also international issues after Fathul Makkah, for example. But at Meccan period, you have a small, close-knitted organization, and I find a lot of practical solutions suggested or practiced by Prophet Muhammad SAW and other Sahaba during Meccan period. And even some Quranic verses that was revealed during Meccan period provide this solution, but not as many as those during Bedouin period. So I would prefer open your mind. There are still a lot of practical solutions during Bedouin period that you can extract to inspire your practice, especially when you are in a small practice. Your practice is small size, small scale. Your community is small. There are a lot of things you can learn from Meccan period. Yes, that's my answer. Thank you.
MashaAllah, thank you so much. I'm just wondering, as you're talking, you had also mentioned that some theories are not applicable.
Yeah.
Can you give us some examples of that?
You know, when some Muslim basic psychologists studying a very specific variable in the laboratory, in a very specific setting, for example, any quantitative psychologists here or experimental psychologists can give example of research. And as an organizing psychologist, okay, how can studying rat, for example, how can studying rat in the lab, eating behavior of a rat, can help me as an organizational psychologist? So that one, I think, is not applicable to me. It either stay as for the sake of knowledge, for the sake of theory building, or maybe it can be applied by other applied discipline. Or maybe clinical psychologists can apply it for eating disorder, for example, but still very limited. It's still very limited. So that is what I meant by not all theory can be applied. Some theory I just meant to for the sake of understanding rather than for the sake of applying for solution. Yeah, I hope that the example is sufficient.
Barakallahu fikum. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I see Brother Muhammad Abu Hilal, Dr. Hilal, has his hand up. Did you have your hand up to ask a question?
Okay.
Yes,
Muhammad?
please, Sister Fatima.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum
Thank you very
assalam.
much, Sister Fatima, for this lecture, and thank you for Dr. Alizi for this great lecture. I have actually not a question, but a suggestion. I think other than psychology and counseling and psychiatry and mental health, even the mainstream psychology branches are not developed in our countries. Like even the secular, there's no much organizational psychology, political psychology, right? Even before Islamization. So I would suggest that if you or some of your colleagues can do a series where each session you can talk about one type of these untouched psychology branches, so it's widen our perspective about psychology. I know that APA has 54 chapters, right? So I think we need like one session for each of these, so we can start thinking about it. Then later on we can think about Islamization of that. So this is my suggestion. Jazakumullah khair.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. But it's up to ISIP to conduct the sessions then. Fatima? By the way, my gratitude to Brother Jamaluddin. He can't be here, but I'm sure he will watch the YouTube video later on. He's the one who contacted me to invited me. So barakallahu fi. Yeah.
Yes, of course. Brother Jamaluddin sends his regards to everybody, and we're very honored to have you and that he invited you. Alhamdulillah wa shukran.
Yes, it's an honor. Alhamdulillah.
All right. Alhamdulillah wa shukran. I think that we have answered the questions that have come in today. And so with that, we really want to thank everyone for coming today. If anyone has any final question for Dr. Alizi, otherwise we can end with our du'as. And inshallah, just as a note, the 25th will be very honored to host Dr. Alizi again for a tribute to Dr. Professor Malik Badri Rahimullah. So please keep that in mind. Dr. Rothman will also be with us, as well as his son, Qasim Badri. So inshallah, we're looking forward to that. And just today, just listening from you, we can see that there's so much to learn and so much to do. And I can feel the palpable presence of Dr. Professor Malik Badri through your teachings today, mashallah. May Allah bless you and bless him and this ummah, inshallah, with himma. And alhamdulillah wa shukrullah. So with that, inshallah. Oh, sorry.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I'm Afifa here. I just want agree with Dr. Abu Hila's suggestion. I just want to extend, because in this process of Islamization, I think we need a board of ulamas or scholars when we can, forward our problems when it comes to ahkam or something like that, even in fiqh or aqidah or something, related to it. Because some things we cannot decide ourselves.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So true. Thank you so much, Sister Afifa. You're absolutely right. This isn't something that we can do as a one-person thing. Dr. Alizi, would you like to comment on that as well?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. No further comment. It's beautiful, brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We have to refer to our ulama and in the instructions of the Quran itself, right? Where it tells us, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. So ask the people of knowledge if you do not know yourself.
Yes,
So
that's
we're humbled by, and we absolutely recognize that the place of our ulama is necessary in all of the work that we're doing. There is a question, actually, Sister Husna is asking. She says, thank you, doctor. You have inspired me to embark on human resource research, incorporating Islamic perspectives. Any advice for a novice? What are some of the cautions and how to start?
Where to start? It can be a very lengthy answer, but all the things that I've presented today should be a good starting point. Other than that, I think we can conduct more sessions on this, perhaps, ISIP, Fatima. Yeah. It's difficult to answer that. It requires a lengthy discussion and of course questions from me for you to answer at the chat box, just like we did tonight. Yeah, we need that kind of sessions, inshallah. Pray for us, inshallah.
Absolutely, inshallah. We'd be honored to host that type of kind of jumping. I think that's something that I felt as well. Like, wow, where do we start? I know. Yeah, where's the method to go in? But this is just, I guess, wetting our getting our feet wet is the expression. So inshallah, we'll have more sessions with you that we can get more ability to understand how we can apply this. Barakallahu fikum. All right, inshallah. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Please do fill out the feedback form. It will be really helpful for us. And I do actually read all of them. And I thank everyone for joining us today. Thank you to the ISIP team, to Brother Jamaluddin, of course, to Sister Nadira, to Sister Ismat, and to all of our brothers and sisters all over the world, especially in Turkey and in Syria. We were reminding myself and everyone to continue with the du'as, to continue in our local communities how we can, and to keep and hold everyone in our hearts and in our du'as. Please make dua for Dr. Alizi bin Alias, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses him, blesses his knowledge, increases him, and increases us through him. And inshallah, with that, we'll read Surah Al-Asr. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.